All right, I'm here with Bryan Lafata, Gloucester Athletic Director. Sorry for our little. Takes me a little while to populate the Facebook page and the Good Morning Gloucester page, but we want to have as many people see it at the same time as possible. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you. My pleasure to come on, Joe.
Uh, First of all, I should say, out of all the departments um, that I deal with, well, the police department's pretty good too, but you are the most active promoting your athletes, constantly, relentlessly promoting upcoming games, schedules, and achievements. And I think that has to make, through social media, and I think that has to make parents feel pretty good and the athletes.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I started the job a couple years ago. It was something I wanted to bring to it. I mean, social media is so big with just in the world today, both as we've discussed, both good and bad sometimes. But I try and bring the good as much as possible. Promote it. I mean, we got so many athletes and so many different sports that people don't even realize.
Yeah.
Just to be able to put it out there and promote it. A lot of people they live on social media, so for us to get people to come to the games or support the kids, it's the best way to get out there.
Yeah, it's cool. I think that like a lot of people don't know these schedules, and like you were doing like a daily update, like just basically copy and pasting the feed like of the daily things and ahead of time so people could know. And it's really cool. Like I think those games are pretty entertaining. It's free entertainment. It's great, and they're great to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was a big thing is communication, just getting it out there, letting people know. Even, I mean, some of the parents I know being involved in sports for well over 20 years, coaching and everything, when you've got schedules and locations and people never know where to be or what time. So I try and make it as clear as possible, have an app for it on the phone, plus the website. And I mean, if there's one positive with this downtime, I am getting to work on a website a little bit more to try and make things even more user friendly and a kind of a one stop shop for all of our families to go to. So if
Now,
we
is
are
that
stuck,
is that website public, or is it just for the student athletes and the administrators?
it will be public. Right now, it's public. It's really only the schedule, the schedule results usually. Sometimes the coaches' contact info. Where I want to expand it more and start putting a lot of the stuff that link it up to the social media, get the photographs on there. We have a ton of great photographs of all the sports. Where I'd like each page to kind of, or each team to have their own page that families can go to, and our coaches could even utilize as okay. If I got to put an announcement up for say my softball team, I'm going to put it right here, and the parents know where to go at all times to get that info. So
Brilliant.
that's a work in progress right now.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. What's the URL of that if people wanted to check it out?
I'm gonna have to send it to you. It's an odd one because we use our league, the Northeastern Conference, uses what's called Our Schools Today.
Okay.
So it's a website off of there. It's a little bit of a long URL, and
Well, I'll put it. I could add it to the show notes afterwards. So
yep,
that'll be great for
awesome.
people to bookmark that and go back and check it out. So why don't you give us a timeline of every organization has their timeline of how this affected them. Um, there's obviously there's winter, there's fall, winter, spring sports. Where did it all come down? And with our current situation.
Ironically, it came down basically right in between our winter and our spring seasons. Um, that week of the 13th, Friday the 13th, when schools officially finally closed in Gloucester. That following Monday, the 16th, was supposed to be the first day of spring sports, tryouts, practices for all of our levels. So everyone was ramping up for that. Um, so at that point there, the week prior, so we started, I mean, even a week and a half, we started hearing everything going into play. There might be some shutdowns, this and that. And then obviously, then the MIAA had to step in. The MIAA is obviously the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association. They're our governing body of all of our high school sports. And when they came in and said, okay, basically everyone's going to, for the next 2 weeks, the entire state, because everyone's going to be on an even playing field. So if
Right.
some schools, because at first, as we know, some schools are going to be open, some schools were closed, some were closing. I know Everett, I think, was closing for 30 days. And at first, everyone was in shock by that, thinking like, that's crazy. Everyone else is just doing a week or two. So the MIAA had to put a flat date, just everyone would start in another 2 weeks. But then obviously it's been pushed back, and right now it's really put in the governor's hands. And we understand it. I mean, as frustrating as it is for the athletes, especially. it's a public safety thing, that we have to obey it, and we just follow that. So trying to promote this to the kids right now is to, like I've always done as a coach, is worry about what you can control. And right now, all they can control is stay home, stay safe, try and do as many workouts as you can on your own. When it first started to go down, we kind of had the mindset that, well, I mean, even if we're not in school, maybe a few of the guys can get together and throw the lacrosse ball around, or the track athletes maybe go do some sprints on the track. But the city was smart, the DPW, the mayor, everybody, by shutting down Newell Stadium and shutting down parks, knowing how serious this is. It does make it harder for the student athletes, but I said just do whatever they can. And at this point now, we're working on online virtual trainings with the kids, conditioning programs, to get them back together as much as we can. Our coach is getting more involved in everything. It's great. Tomorrow's going to be our first one. The kids will start seeing email invitations from me, to hop on and keep the kids active. Number one, physically is important, but number two is mentally. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime, hopefully, situation we're dealing with here, and not anyone's ever gone through it.
Right.
So trying to keep these kids both physically and mentally healthy, is a key for us.
You had some standout seasons in the was the fall season, like, or was it the winter season? The winter season just wrapped up, right? Is that what we just said?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I know that there was the wrestling some of the newer teams or like just explosive growth and can you go through some of the accomplishments of the past season?
Yeah, definitely. Winter season was a very good season, both team wise, program wise, and individual wise. With quite a few sports in the winter time between swimming, wrestling, those sports there that are even indoor track, that they're team sports, but also there's a lot of it's individual based. One of them, like you said, you brought up wrestling. We had Liam Donahue, who's a senior, just finished out one of the most prolific high school career. Excuse me, at Gloucester High School with over 100 career victories. Won states, went to all states, went to New England regionals. I mean, it was quite a run, especially anyone that follows our social media. It was every week at the end of the season, every weekend he was going someplace else for
Yeah.
another huge tournament. And it's never, I try and obviously give everyone their limelight, try and promote all the teams as much as possible. But when you have an athlete that does as much as Liam did, he was on there every week getting
Yeah.
promoted.
Yeah.
So Liam did a great job with wrestling, which is obviously a fairly new program to Gloucester High School. Definitely within the past decade, coaches Matt Swanson and Kirk Benson have done a great job building that up as a great youth program. Then another sport that again is it's a team sport, but is a lot of individual based times and results is our swim and dive team, another sport that's fairly new in the past decade. Um, Caroline McKay and Sam Grollo are a couple of underclassmen that both qualified for the state events. They did very well, and obviously, as I said, they're underclassmen, so we get to watch them for a couple more years and see how much they grow. Team wise, we had both our boys basketball and boys ice hockey advanced to the sectional quarterfinals in the state tournament. So both did very well regular season. Both went on and they ran into some very tough opponents in that round, but they both had won their first round game, made it to quarterfinals, and represented Gloucester very well. Had a few individual performances there. Number one, Marcus Montanino for basketball, another senior, eclipsed 1,000 point barrier, which is obviously huge in high school basketball. I think he ended up being the third all-time leading scorer in the high school.
Is he a three sport standout or what does he play?
Uh, he is two sport primarily. He
Yeah.
did play some football in the past, but this year he was basketball and was going into his senior year of baseball. And as good as he is at basketball, he's a tremendous basketball player. Obviously, he was the player of the year last year as a junior.
Hmm.
This year he wasn't, just because the leagues combined, so there were a lot more people involved. And there was a Lynn English player that got player of the year, and he was on a team that was going back-to-back state titles. But Marcus, for him, baseball might even be his best sport. And baseball goes under the radar a little more because the basketball team, football teams, those get the large crowds.
Right.
Hockey,
Right.
baseball is your spring outdoor, and Marcus is a tremendous baseball player. And I think he's kind of looking toward that sport at the next level.
Wow.
But yeah, Marcus had a tremendous year, and an individual like him too. I just recently, I mean, he made the Boston Herald All Scholastic team, which is huge. You don't get a
Wow.
lot of all scholastics. But most recently, even more impressive, excuse me, was got notification from the local referee association, which oversees everything in the North Shore, like the Merrimack Valley and everything. And they provide once a year an annual, basically Player of the Year or Sportsmanship Award.
Right.
Basically covers everything. And Marcus just received that.
Wow.
So that right there, to be as quality an athlete as he is, but to be as quality a person, and to have outside people, officials, referees to recognize that, and
Huge.
that's completely on them. That's not any coaches recommending it or anything. That's just the guys that show up to just the games,
Wow.
referee the games, and go home. And so I heard from the head of that board that numerous referees nominated him, and no other players had numerous nominations. So that's a big one right there. Is
Huge.
we always want to win as much as possible, but to do it the right way, like Marcus did. Our wrestling coaches that I brought up before, they did the same thing. They got a referees sportsmanship award for the entire Northeast region.
Wow.
So that says a lot about the people running our program, playing in the program. Um, Hockey as well, as I was bringing up the other very successful team sport. Had a couple guys that had huge years as well. A couple of seniors that, thankfully, the seasons we did get them almost completely in the winter season. EJ Field eclipsed the 100-point barrier
Mm.
for his career, which is very impressive. Goalie Connor Vitans was the league MVP. He was tremendous. He kept the team in every game for multiple years, and so he's going to be a big guy to have to replace next year. And then Jack Costanzo, who's only a sophomore,
Wow.
so
He's a
hopefully
sophomore?
only a sophomore, and
Wow.
he's getting close to that 100-point barrier already.
Wow.
He was an all conference player, which is huge. I mean, that's the top of the top. You have all conference, and then you have all stars. So as a sophomore to be an all conference athlete is very impressive, and he does it in 3 sports as well, which is
He's got a big future. Big
yep,
future. Wow.
definitely does.
Cool.
Uh, so all in all, those are some of the highlights. Our girls basketball, the culture, the girls really bought in, did very well. Wins and losses weren't great. They did end the season on a high note with a big win at Salem. We look forward to that program growing. The track team this year, for again probably about the 6th year or so, they didn't get to host any home meets because our field house is in rough shape. And that's another whole topic that hopefully we're supposed to be getting an updated field house this summer,
Wow.
as far as the new floors and new bleachers. So we'll see how those plans go. But those kids do great, especially considering they don't ever get to have a home meet.
Mm.
There were some very good performers there. The one tough one I really felt for was the cheerleaders. If there was one sport that didn't get to officially finish their winter season, the girls did qualify for states. Every week they kept qualifying. They would get the score that was required to move on to the next level. So they were going to be going to the states the weekend of the 13th, 14th, and unfortunately that had to get canceled. So those girls did a great job. They practice all winter long, and really the competitions don't start until basically February. So it's 3 months of practicing, supporting the basketball team, and then their season really ramps up late. And unfortunately, just that last one they didn't get to do. But it was a good season all in all for them. And the only other one I didn't mention was girls ice hockey. And girls ice hockey had a great year. They've been shooting to be a varsity program the last few years, and this year was really a year to help that next year. So they were a JV program this year. They did tremendously on the ice, off the ice. And so we're putting in for them to be a varsity program next year, which has been
Wow.
a wide Gloucester. So that's exciting news to now have another varsity sport for next winter. Coaches there have done a great job over the past couple of years trying to build it up. It is a co-op with Rockport, so we have a lot of very good Rockport athletes too. The numbers were great, and like I said, the results were very good on the ice, so it was easy enough for me to be able to go to the league, the MIAA, and put a bid in that we were ready for varsity now. So that's
What league would they compete in?
girls ice hockey is a little bit different. It's primarily the Northeastern Conference, but because there's not as many teams, they do combine.
Right.
So I think we have most girls hockey programs, like we're a co-op with Rockport, are multi-school co-ops,
Right.
like a Beverly Danvers Ipswich. North Reading, I believe, might be with Masco and several other schools. So you get quite a few schools together
Mm.
to build these. So I'm not sure if it's what they have for an official name for
Right.
the conference we'll be in, but it's primarily the local teams. But when you play, and many of the girls know the girls from the other schools anyways, that they're playing not just Marblehead or just Danvers. They're playing a co-op of multiple teams.
Yeah, that's really cool. I Hockey, Gloucester, and Rockport, the Cape Ann youth hockey has been such a force through the years, and that community, that local hockey community, is so tight knit because they travel so much together. I mean, those
Yep.
those trips up to Canada,
Yep.
um, those parents, I think, have a better time than the kids.
They got to. All the travel money and everything that goes into that, they got to have some fun once in a while too. I was in
Absolutely.
I was in that industry for a while, being in the travel baseball, so I know the time commitment and everything it is for parents. That it's huge. That once in a while they got to be able to let go too.
100%, 100%. So, looking forward, like, what information can you share of any conversations you've had with the MIAA or the school district, or what? Like, is there any light for this year, or what are you hearing?
Well, the MIAA has done as much as they can. They've been great as far as communication, getting it out there. The most recent meeting that they had, and they have meetings every couple of weeks on the same, obviously, format Zoom meetings with various athletic directors, principals, and their board of directors. Um, but as of now, May 4th is the official start date of schools to go back. And if that happens, that's when sports would start.
Mhm.
Obviously, our fingers are crossed on that. So they have been clear about that. They have also extended the season. About a week and a half ago, they had a meeting where it was getting to a point we were shorting the season so much at the beginning that they weren't sure if we would have a state tournament at the end or whatnot. So a week ago, they did extend the season until the end of June. Usually, spring sports wrap up the end of May, very early
Uh,
June, and then the state tournament. But they have extended it till the end of June to give us more time. But now it's a wait and see game. So even for the MIAA, I mean, it's a very hot topic, obviously, because you have kids that are seniors that are wrapping up their high school careers.
right,
Not a lot are able to go on to the next level. So this is it. Their
right.
sports careers could be coming to an end. So you feel for those kids, and the MIAA and the local leagues are doing their best. The athletic directors, me and the Northeastern Conference ones, we meet every couple of weeks on Zoom, and we're trying to figure things out, the best way to handle it. But they're not just cutting the plug, pulling the plug. They're
Yep.
doing everything possible to keep it going. And that's what we're doing. I'm in contact with my coaches as much as possible to communicate that to the kids that
Yeah.
just stay ready, do whatever you can to get ready. So as of right now, that is it. May 4th, when everyone is supposed to go to back to school, would be the start of the season. We would start with a 7-day practice tryout period that's mandated by the MIAA, and then we could start games. Now, how that works, it's a shortened season already. The conference would have to work on that. We'd have to, all the schedules we did for all the sports months ago are going to have to be redone. We
Wow.
haven't done them yet because we're waiting to see the time frame. They have to tell us when games would have to be done by to play the state tournament or this or that. So there's still a lot of open-ended questions here that we've just got to wait. The next board of directors meeting for the MIAA, I believe, is Monday, so we'll find out some more information then. But it's a wait and see game at this point.
Yeah. So it the best hope is May 4th season starts with the tryouts, and then a compressed season,
Yep.
but a season, and so you tack on time on the end of it.
Yep. And with that, they would still conduct a state tournament at this point if we're to start May 4th, because there were some talks of even cutting out a state tournament, just getting it so the kids could play. But they made the decision to keep it up to a sectional tournament. So there won't be any state championships.
Right,
Say, like a lot of our teams recently have made it to, say, the North Finals.
right.
That would be the final game they would play to get it all done. But that's as of now.
Yeah.
Things, if it
Fingers
gets
crossed. I mean, it is what it
right,
is, and obviously, as much as we want these kids to play, it's a safety call first. So
100%. Yep,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, well, it's a great attitude you have, and your priorities are obviously in the right place. Like, you can imagine some. As I know you're a sports guy, I'm a sports guy, freaking out like nothing on television.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
killing them.
it's killing us, but I think, like, rational people would all agree that this is the taking the cues from the governor and stuff is the right way to go. Well,
Yep.
Bryan, anything you want to add in closing?
I mean, that's pretty much everything right now. Hopefully, everyone keeps following all our social media. As I said, we're going to start some online virtual workouts with the kids. If it's a big success and we start getting a lot of the current athletes, and it's not just for our spring sports athletes, it's the all seasons. We want to keep them involved. I've got my coaches from the fall and the winter, staying active too. If it grows enough, then we might start doing it where coaches run their own conditioning programs. It's not sports specific. We're not doing it. We still have to follow MIAA guidelines with out of season contact with students and everything, that they can't be running practices or anything. So this is more or less, like I said before, more of a physical workout, but also the mental part and keeping the kids on the right line, right page together. So if everyone follows all our social media, that's a great thing for us.
Can you name them the Twitter and the ones so people can find you there?
Yeah, we've got Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all three. And all three are pretty similar with everything that's posted, but it's generally, this is where I still got to work on my social media and game is GHS Fisherman Athletics is the Instagram feed that we have, and then Facebook and Twitter are in the same. So fairly easy to find. Like I said, if you follow one of them, you're following all of them basically, because I know not everyone's on all three. So I try and keep all three as consistent as possible.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, thanks again, Bryan. I'm going to bring Jimmy Dalpiaz on here. We appreciate it. And when this passes, just like our police chief, know that you have an open invitation. Anytime you have something you want to come on and talk about, and you don't have to do a whole podcast. You can come on for 5-10 minutes just to make an announcement. I'd be happy to have you. Just know we're here for you.
Awesome, Joey. I really appreciate it, and stay safe to you and the family.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself.
You too. Thanks.
All right, we're going to bring in Jimmy Dalpiaz right now. Let's see. That was great. Bryan is such a great asset to our community, and you know, I as a geeky guy, hey Jimmy Dalpiaz is with us, and as a sports guy and a geeky guy, I can really appreciate what Bryan does as the athletic director. Jimmy, what's going on? I could see the top of your head.
Hey. Oh, top of my head? How?
No, I could see the bottom of your head. There you go. Sit back. There you go. How you doing, pal?
Hi, how you doing, guy?
We got about 8 minutes with Jimmy.
You got it, sir.
So what did you think of what Bryan had to say?
Oh, it's exactly what we had talked about. We had planned. It's so nice to hear. I know what it's like to be working, as an athletic director, to work with all these schedules and people asking questions, and you're thinking of your athletes and your coaches, and so everything he said was spot on. It needed to be said. It's answering questions like everything else these days, right?
Yeah. Instead of when you get these people that are in charge answering the questions, you eliminate a lot of the speculation and rumor. So I think that's great to get out in front of the public and let people know.
Sure, you put the question right out there and said, "Hey, what can you tell us? What have you heard?"
Yeah,
and what it's all about. So nice job on that.
Yeah, you were how many sports did you coach, Jimmy? You were a coach back in upstate New York.
Harpersville. I know you.
Harpersville, whatever the fuck that is.
You want to say Hootersville? I know you do.
No, I wanted to say East Bumfuck USA is what I wanted to say.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I did field hockey for over it's almost 40 years. I did field hockey in the junior high JV level, and then I was on softball for over 30 years on the varsity level. We were state champs a few times, runner up. Pat was the scorekeeper. She was in there too. So those are the two big ones that I really did a lot of.
Hi, honey. What's going on?
Hi, honey.
Kate is dancing and laughing. Something good happened. Must have happened.
Hi, Kate.
Little booty shake. No, don't put. No. I was just afraid there might have been a mirror over here. We might have had a situation. Time for homeschool. So time for homeschool for Kate. We got 6 minutes left, Jimmy. So I just want to give you a heads up.
Yeah, I know it's short.
So what is this about? One of your topics was virtual racing, Indy cars and NASCAR. What is that all about?
Well, what's happening is the Indy sport, the Indy car racing started this, game controllers, and the sponsors put money up and sent out these controllers and everything else to people, the drivers who can do it in their home. And then they start putting it on TV. So NBC Sports last week put on the IndyCar race at a track. I think they did last week. It was I can't remember the track.
You're talking
But it's
about
one of
like PlayStation or something like that?
yeah, where
Oh,
they
okay.
actually have controls and they're doing their thing. So they actually are going out there. They have certain rules that if you crash, if it has guidelines on it, that if there's a crash and it's enough that it hurt the car, you had to go in the pits and wait a little bit. There's something about fueling. It's all these different rules.
It's
Now
amazing
NASCAR,
because you would think that like there'd be a wide range in skill level between some guys that like are obsessed with video games and some guys that like I'm not not video game players and
right, and that's exactly it, Joey. In IndyCar racing, they actually had a couple of NASCAR drivers try it. They actually had some people who
oh
drove.
I thought it was specifically the NASCAR drivers. Oh, it isn't. It could be anyone.
In the IndyCar, they had the real IndyCar drivers, people who have driven IndyCar in the lower leagues, NASCAR drivers. In the NASCAR racing, that's also doing it. They have the same thing. They have some people who are NASCAR drivers, people who drive in local tracks, and they got money or support to go get one of these big, gigantic game stations. It's not like, Conor McCarthy sitting there with his dad and they're racing each other, on TV. But it's a big thing. And the big story last week was one of the NASCAR drivers who has a sponsor, who gets paid for a lot of different things. He got really mad that people were hitting him and not doing well. And he kind of said publicly, right there on live TV, this is stupid. And he crashed his car and walked away and just said, I'm done. So
Wow.
then the next day, the sponsors fired him. They
Oh,
went
wow.
out there and they said, "You're done.
Really?
If that's the attitude you're taking, we're out on this. So you're fired."
Wow, they need
So
because right now they're desperate they probably put a little bit of money and effort into creating this little thing and or whatever and
so what he's saying when you said at the end with Bryan, like, I'm dying. There's nothing on TV. I'm dying. This is kind of what they're showing IndyCar. So if
yeah.
they're going to do virtual baseball or virtual hockey, what is it going to be? Those guys with that, that game that they had all the metal thing. You put the switch on and the guys bounced around, and you were hoping they would hit the puck.
I'm guessing it would be more like video games, like digital as opposed to analog. The one where you turn the things.
And I want to make it clear, I'm not a big fan of this. I don't know if I'm going to sit and watch my TV watching somebody else play a video game.
No,
I'm a little troubled.
No, I think most people. I don't know. I shouldn't say most people, but I know Kate and I are binge watching Ozark. We're halfway through season 3, and it's really good. And I'm starting to get anxiety over finishing the season, not having another show. I think there's one called Money Heist. I think is the next on our list. It looked pretty good. I like those kind of money heist. Those con job kind of shows and movies. So I want to give a shout out. We didn't do it in the beginning. We said we were going to start out every show with all of the first responders, truck drivers, grocery store workers, the nurses, the doctors, the people that work in the hospitals keeping them clean, the people that are cleaning the grocery stores, so I want to give a shout out to those people. We only have 1 minute and 25 seconds left on the meeting, so I'm going to upgrade this so we can have unlimited time. I'm going to pay for like some kind of upgrade to figure that out. Anyway, I want to give a shout out to Carl McKay Stratton, who put out a list, and I'm posting this. I'm going to post his list this afternoon of his favorite, all the local restaurants, and what his he called it bucket list, but wish list of as soon as this is over, what he's going to get at each place, what he's missing most out of each different restaurant. I'm going to challenge people to submit their lists. I thought it was brilliant, a great way to kind of like exercise your mind and think about all those great local places that we have. We're less than a minute right now. Jimmy, thanks for coming on. Tell Pat thanks for answering the people in the show notes.
And my other thing too, Joey, real quick is, hey folks, stay home. We can do block parties later, and that's all I'm going to say.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on and being and hanging out with us. So
Thank you, Brian. Thank you,
everybody,
Brian.
everybody have a great day.